Hello, colleagues. Welcome to today's session where we are going to look at the modified distribution optimality testing. Okay, the MODI. So MODI is one of the different ways you can actually test for optimality, and testing for optimality is basically trying to verify whether the solution in the transportation problem you have found is the barest minimum. Okay, have you optimized it? uh, okay, so other than the MODI, you have the stepping stone method. uh, it is also one of the methods that you can test for optimality. Okay, so let's see how we can work around MODI to test for optimality. Now, given a table here which has already been allocated, you have a solution for it. Let's take, for instance, you have solved this particular problem using VAM, right? You have solved this particular problem using VAM, and now you want to test for optimality. What is the first thing you do? Okay, so let us identify the rows by U. Okay, let us identify the rows by U. So since this one is row 1, so it's going to be U1, this one U2, U3, and U4. And the columns, let's identify them by V. Okay, by V. So this is V1, V2, V3. So this method, which is MODI, okay, it is sometimes called the UV method. Okay, because of the how we have identified these particular rows and columns. Okay, from here we say that we need to first of all find out whether this problem is non-degenerate. Okay, that is the time we can proceed. Okay, now when we are testing for degeneracy, we are saying that the number of allocated cells should be equal to number of rows, which we are going to say, since we are saying rows are represented by U, rows plus columns, which are represented by V, okay, minus 1. All right, so what are we saying? Number of allocated cells. Have you seen that we have allocated cells like the first cell, the cell C1,1, and we identify C1,1 as, so if we are dealing with this particular cell, we are asking ourselves what is the row number and the column number of that cell. So in a general sense, we are only going to say this is Cij, where I and J are the numbers attached to the column or the row. Okay, these are the numbers attached to the column or the row. So in this case, this particular cell that has a unit cost of 2 and the allocation of 50 is cell 1, because 1 is the number of the row in which it is, this row, but it's also in the first column, so it's gonna be 1,1. Okay, so that is how we identify the cells. Okay, we proceed. um Now we are saying that the number of allocated cells, right? So we have 50, which is allocated there. We have an 80, 70, 20, 20, and 100. So how many are they in total? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we have 6 allocated cells. Perfect. How many rows do you have? You have 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have 4 rows. How many columns do you have? 1, 2, 3. You have 3 columns minus 1. Okay, 6 is equal to 4 plus 3, that gives us a 7, minus 1. So you end up having 6 is equal to 6. Therefore, this particular problem is non-degenerate. Okay, then you can proceed to the second stage. The second stage requires that we calculate. So we calculate the opportunity cost of occupied cells. So we calculate the opportunity cost of occupied cells. So all these ones that we remember here, we identified the occupied cells to be 6, right? So we have to identify now, we have to calculate the opportunity cost of these particular cells. Okay, and how do we do that? Okay, we say that the formula, the general formula is UI plus VJ is equal to CIJ. Okay, this is the general formula for calculating the opportunity cost of occupied cells. And I and J can be any number, can be any letters or variables. So if I want, I can put A plus V B. So these can be represented by any variable, any letter. It doesn't change anything. In this case, we have just decided to use I and J. Okay, we proceed like this. So we are saying which row, which cell can we identify first? Okay, we have the 50 there, which is in cell 1,1, isn't it? It is allocated. So we are basically trying to identify what cells are allocated. So you make an assumption, general assumption, let U1 be equal to 0. Okay, make that general assumption. Okay, it's a given rule that let U1 be equal to 0. After making that general rule and assumption, you say this particular cell that we have identified that has a 50, this one, what are the number of rows and the columns in which that cell is? So we said it is a cell called C1,1, isn't it? Because it is in the first row and first column. So C1,1. Okay, so we know that V will be 1 because V is 1 and U there will be 1. So we have U1 plus V1 is equal to C1,1. Right, because it is in the first row and first column. That is why we have ones on both sides. All right, we proceed like this. Now let's identify the cost attached. Okay, the unit cost attached to those particular cells. In this case, the unit cost attached to the cell, the unit cost is 2. I'm sure you are able to see that 2. So that is what you replace it on the C. But remember here you made an assumption that let your U1 be equal to 0. So here we are going to replace your assumption that you said U1 is equal to 0. So you have plus V1. In this case, we don't know what V1 is. So let us try to find it. Okay, so 0, either you just forget it, or if you want to follow procedure, you take it to the right hand side, it becomes a negative. So you have, anyway, there's no negative. So you just basically ignore it. So V1 is going to be equal to 2, isn't it? All right, we found the value of V1. Now, since we know the value of V1, and V1 is the column. So V1 is this column, isn't it? V1. So we can, for what we have found, which is V1, let's maintain the V1 column. Okay, so we have an allocated cell in V1. We maintain the V1 column we have found. So we have an allocated cell which has a 20 there, which is C4,1, this particular cell, C4, 1. Okay, let us also calculate the opportunity cost, and we said UI plus VJ is equal to CIJ, right? And in this case, we are saying that that one is in row 4. So U4 plus V1, it is in column 1, which is going to be C4, 1. All right. We know we calculated the value of V1 as 2. So we replace 2 there plus U4 we don't know. But we know the unit cost. Let's go and identify the unit cost. We have a 1 there as our unit cost. Okay, so let's replace 1 there. So U4 is going to be 1 minus 2. The 2 will cross over the other side. So U4 is going to be equal to -1. Let's proceed. Let's identify another occupied cell. We have in this particular V1 row we are done, but we found U4. So let us calculate everything that is in U4. Okay, the row U4. So this row going this side, we have this one which is allocated and this one that is allocated. So we can start with the 20, and this cell is U4, U4 V2, right? U4 V2. Let's go for U4 V2. So we know that the general formula is UI plus VJ is equal to CIJ, right? Now we identified the cell which is in the 4th row and in the second column, isn't it? V2. Okay, is equal to C. You just get that 4 and that 2. All right, and this is the cell because it is in the fourth row and second column. Okay, what is the value attached? 6. The value attached there is 6. So this is 6. What is the value of U4? We already calculated U4 here as U4 is -1. So we know that is -1 plus V2, which we don't know. This one will cross over the other side. It will be 6 plus 1. So we have V2 equal to 7, isn't it? We proceed. In that particular row, which is row 4, we have 100 allocation here. Okay, let us deal with that one. Okay, what cell is that one? C4, 3. So let's deal with C4, 3. So we know that we are going to have U4 plus V3 is equal to C4, 3. Okay, and you know that U4 you already calculated as -1 plus V3 which you don't know is equal to, what is the value there of that cell? You have a 2. The value is 2. All right, so we put 2 there. So that guy goes on the other side. 2 plus 1. So V3 is equal to 4. Okay, are we following? Okay, let's deal with another. Okay, right now we are remaining with 2 allocated cells. This one with a 70 and this one with an 80. Since we know much of the details, we can pick any of those. Or let's pick with the one that we can pick. Since we were dealing with this 100 cell and it is in V3, right? So let's get everything that is in V3. So, and in V3 you have an 80 there. Okay, so let's go to that 80. And what cell is it? I forgot to get the cell. Okay, let's continue in the next video where we're